So much of ambient music can be described as vast. But some of my favorite ambient artists don't feel that way at all. Their music feels close. That atmospheric, huge, spacious ambient can be really calming and gentle, but it makes me feel far away. And while it can wash over you and feel like it's all around you, it doesn't feel close. I want to walk through how I try and make ambient music that feels intimate, feels like it's sitting right next to you. Hi, I'm Ryan from Amber Elm. This isn't a big indictment of spacey, droney ambient music. It definitely has a place. I just tend to like the ambient music that feels closer. Less polished, more organic, almost like you're in the room it's being made in. I think closeness in ambient means music that lets you in. It has texture, but it doesn't rely on it. It has reverb, but only enough to give it dimension. For me, and maybe it's this way for you, closeness is something that's easy to lose without really realizing it. I think closeness gets lost in a few ways. One of those ways is using reverb in an unintentional way. Reverb is one of those things that is really fun to use. Anything sent through it goes from sounding sort of dry and unimpressive to all of a sudden sounding inspiring and something worth working on. I had a teacher who made me learn piano pieces I was working on without using the pedal, and I hated it. The pedal made the piece sound so much better and more like what I assumed the end result would sound like. But she understood that pedaling a piece while I was learning it would hide a lot of the mistakes in technique I was making, and I'd never quite learn it the right way. I view reverb a little bit like this. If the idea on its own needs reverb to sound good and inspiring, maybe I need to work on the idea itself a little bit more. One thing I would do early on is I would put reverb on every single track of a piece I was working on. Doing this made pieces sound blurry and washed out. It kills all the transients of the notes by kind of smearing everything together. And if everything sounds like that, nothing stands out, nothing can feel close. And I feel the same way about compression. Compression sort of smooths out all the peaks and valleys, limiting the dynamic range. It's why when you have instruments that have a high dynamic range, it's usually used pretty sparingly. Compressing the sound so nothing peaks out can take an instrument from alive and in your room to flat and distant. Not in a spacey way, but just not in the same room as you are. I also try to avoid layers that do the same job. It's really tempting to use 3 pads because I came up with 3 slightly different ones while writing, but I'd stack them and the whole piece would get blurry and muddy. If I want a pad to underpin a piece, I'll choose one. I'll try to avoid that muddy sound as much as possible. And that goes for synths too. If I have a synthesizer line that's occupying a specific frequency range or voice range, I'll try my best to let that instrument live there alone. And the last thing I'll touch on here is leaving in things that I initially might want to cut or get rid of. Things like mechanical noise, subtle timing screw-ups, stuff like that. While fixing it with EQ or remiking or quantizing the notes might make it sound more polished and probably better to a lot of people, but I find that leaving those things in lends itself to feeling intimate. If I'm in a room with a piano listening to someone play, I'm gonna hear that pedal noise, I'm gonna hear the key clicks, I'm gonna hear all those little imperfections. And so by leaving them in the recording, I feel like you're inviting the listener into the room with you. When something in a piece starts to feel really close, it just feels more present, more connected than it did before. And that's usually the point where I'll stop adjusting things. But there's almost always a temptation to do just that, to add something underneath it, another texture, another pad, something that makes it feel fuller. And the reason I want to add it usually isn't creative, it's just habit. But most of the time when I add that extra layer, the closeness fades just a little. When something feels close, I stop caring about the notes themselves and more about the feeling that they're giving me. It becomes less about where the harmony is going and more about what it's doing right now. Closeness sort of shifts the priority from information to presence. And something interesting happens when you let it stay imperfect. The slight instability, the uneven timing, the small inconsistencies, those things make it feel real. If I polish them out, it may seem higher quality or more impressive, but it feels less human. When there's even just one close element in a track, everything else sort of changes roles. The distant sounds don't disappear, they don't become less important, they just become part of the whole. That pad or bed of texture starts to feel like a foundation instead of decoration. And on its own, it might feel distant, but when something closer sits in the foreground with all its imperfections, the whole thing just seems intentional. That distance then makes sense because something else feels near. And closeness also changes how time behaves. If something feels distant or polished, I feel pressure to sort of help it evolve, to develop it, to turn it into something more complex. But when it feels close, I feel like I have time to explore, time to let the idea unfold slowly. I'd much rather listen to someone work out an idea in real time, hearing the edges, hearing all the imperfections, than listen to that same idea fully polished and pushed away from me. It makes me want to stay. The hardest part, for me anyway, is restraint. Not polishing it or overworking it, not trying to make it bigger, not pushing a melodic idea into something more cinematic, especially when it could become something bigger. Again, it comes back to habit. It's not a bad instinct, but it's one that I have to sort of check myself on from time to time. I don't think closeness in ambient music is just a production trick. It's a series of small decisions. A decision to leave something exposed, to let it exist without protecting it, to let it breathe without feeling the need to push it anywhere. To me, that closeness is what gives it life. It's why I can listen and feel connected to it. And when I'm writing it and it feels alive, I try not to get in its way. If you want to, there's a few ways that you can support my work. I have a Bandcamp where you can listen and download my music. I have a Patreon that I've just started, so check that out. And also you could subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with as many people as you think might find it useful. I hope you found this helpful or useful in some way. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. I tried to get back to every single one of them. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.